Okay, Mike and Elena. Mike in particular, I promised you I would try out my new Mont Blanc Meister Stuke 149 pen. But before I do that, I need to give you a overall summary of how a fountain pen works, and it'll kind of give you some idea of how I became fascinated with fountain pens and why I started to collect them. But anyways, let me just kind of go through this with you here real quick, and hopefully we'll be able to see it. But I'll just hold it up. This before you is a what I call TWSBI 580 Diamond fountain pen. It's a Chinese-made fountain pen, very reliable for $50. But the thing that's cool about it is that it's clear, right? And so you get to see how the inner workings work. And since the Mont Blanc pen is a piston filler as well, you'll have a better idea of how it works when we get to it. But anyways, this is it. TWSBI 580. So as you can see, as I rotate with my right hand, you'll see the piston actually move inside the barrel. So it's moving that way, just like a syringe does, a piston in a syringe. And so when it does that, it creates a vacuum in it. And as you have the tip of the fountain pen dipped in ink, it will just suck it right up and into the reservoir. This holds a lot of ink. This is a fun pen for work because you never have to worry about filling it with ink. But as you can see, this is the nib here. Many of the finer pens have gold nibs. This is a steel nib. It's a 1.5 millimeter, I believe, which makes it basically used for doing calligraphy and that sort of thing. So now you understand the filling mechanism. And so the way the pen works actually when you go to use it is that, of course, you have it in the downward position, the ink flows through what they call a feeder, and you can kind of see it here. The feeder is on the underside of the nib itself, and ink will travel through a channel there, and through the magic of the capillary effect. Mike, Lena, argue amongst yourselves what capillary effect might mean to you. I'll give you a second to think about it. Michael, you're right. What happens is that on the nib itself, and it's tough to see, but there's that hole in the middle of the nib. Down to the side of it is a slit in the nib. It actually splits the nib in two, and very, very fine. And so what happens is as you put pressure on the nib, the feet kind of separate, and that capillary effect starts getting the ink flow. This is where it's a really fascinating aspect of the fountain pens, because you have a number of different variables that affect the flow of ink. The type of ink you use, the type of nib it is on the fountain pen, the type of paper that you're applying that ink to. And what's amazing is that when you think about it, those are very tough variables to deal with on a constant basis. And then in your writing style, how everyone writes, you stop. And so how does the ink not keep flowing and create huge puddles of ink on the paper? These guys have spent tons of time engineering these things so that they perform in a very smooth manner, very reliably, and not causing problems for the operators of those instruments. I guess the one thing is that I kind of found out through this whole process is that there is no perfect pen out there. Each of them have their strengths, and of course you have to weigh those strengths on the cost of the pen as well. But for $50, this is a pretty good pen. There's other ones out there, like this is a Jinhano. It's a Chinese company, and they make pens like this. Looks pretty fancy, right? It's all metal, very heavy. It's got even a dragon for a clip there on it. You look at it and you think, wow, they've put a lot of money into this thing. It's all metal and like a lacquer finish. But in reality, I can get these on eBay for $9. In fact, I looked on Alibaba, and they'll sell stocks of these of each of the different parts of the pen for 100-piece lots and stuff. So somebody else is buying this stuff and they're assembling them and selling them on eBay. But I love the gold nib. It's actually a pretty smooth writing instrument. I enjoy writing with this as well. It's not as smooth as the other ones, but still. Probably the first good quality pen I got. This is a Sheaffer Targa, and it actually came out at the same time as the Porsche Targa. But Sheaffer has a really neat inlaid nib, that diamond looking thing. It really writes really smooth. It has a very smooth nib. I enjoy writing with this one, although it's kind of broken in for someone else's type of writing style. And that's one of the things that you find when you buy pre-owned fountain pens, is that they will wear, although the ink acts as a lubricant when you apply it to the paper. They will wear a certain way to however that person's writing style is. And there are things you can do to correct that, and I'm just learning how to do that. So really, the pen portion is what I'm really learning the most about thus far. I haven't spent much time reviewing ink or paper issues. There are a bunch of different types of papers that are used that would be good for fountain pen application. I do have some pretty good inks, and one of my favorite is just a Waterman Blue. It's a Serenity Blue. It's a pretty good ink. It flows really well. It's really nice. And then I just bought some Konpeki. It's a really pretty blue, and I might use this for inking up my Mont Blanc pen. But I just thought I'd show you. It comes in this really nice, beautiful, almost perfume-like type of container, glass container. Very expensive ink. So, what I have here, this is basically a knockoff. When I first started getting into pens, I thought, okay, maybe I'd check out some of these cheap Chinese pens, because I thought, it'd be a good way to go. Kind of try it out and at least see what it feels like in its shape, its form. It's a all metal pen, so it's not going to feel the same as a Meisterspeak 149. But as you can see, it's a very, very big pen. Compared to the TWSBI, which is a large size pen as well, it's even a little bit bigger. And the TWSBI isn't really made to be posted, so somebody with big hands like me, this is big enough. This is big enough. You can post it, but then it becomes ridiculous. It's a little bit unbalanced. It's not that easy to use. So this is actually the Junhano as well. So I think they call it a 159, just to kind of avoid any sort of trademark infringement, I guess, or be at risk of producing a semi-knockoff or something. But it actually writes pretty smooth. There's some things you can do to these nibs to make them a little bit smoother as well. This is a stainless steel nib, I should say. But it says 18 karat gold on it, I think, but come on. For $7, I don't think so. So really, I guess what I could do is now talk about the Mont Blanc 149 with that. Isn't that beautiful? I really love this pen. These things retail $1,000 brand new. I got this on eBay for just a little bit over about $335, I believe. And it was pre-owned, but very nice. It was in good shape. It had the normal wear and tear This one was produced probably, there's a range, and over the years, this pen has been produced since 1952, I believe. From 52 to 59, those are very prized pens to try and get a hold of. Those things will go for over $2,000. And the reason why is that over the years, the materials of construction have changed. For example, remember when I showed you the piston filling mechanism? Well, that era pen that I was just mentioning in the 50s for Mont Blanc was actually a telescoping device that would suck up the ink. But then after that point, they went to a piston filler like this. So the barrel is actually the reservoir. You can't really tell. Maybe I'll pull out the loop and see if I can put it up to the screen. But you can kind of see as I turn it, there's kind of like a little bunch of slits in there. That is just a viewer window, so that when you want to see how much ink is left in the reservoir, you can look through that kind of eye viewer to see how much ink's left. It's a really good indication. When I bought this pen, you really couldn't see through it because the ink had stained the inside of the barrel, and there was also some other problems with the filling mechanism. So I sent it into the Mont Blanc Service Center for repair, and essentially they replaced, for a flat fee, to fix the filling mechanism, which is right here, and I think I can show you. If I hold it up there, you'll be able to see that piston come down right about there. And that's the other way to tell what year it was made, is that brass in the filling mechanism in the screw before it wasn't brass. But anyways, so for the flat fee, they replaced the barrel, they replaced the inlet as well. And I think I got a new cap on top. Don't know if this portion of the cap was replaced. It may have just been polished. But man, the nib itself, they really polished that thing up really nice. It had kind of a patina to it from just being inked and just being used on a day-to-day basis. But essentially, for $100, I got a brand new pen. It's beautiful though. I really enjoy looking at it. I haven't even inked it yet. I just want to just not even do that and ruin it. Someday I might buy a brand new one, but I'll probably buy another used one. A pen like this worth $1,000? God, it's tough. No, I don't think so. But it sure writes nice. I did write with it before. I sent it off for servicing. It's a beautiful pen. So let me see if I can just pull out that jeweler's loop and maybe be able to give you a better view of what that nib looks like. Let's see if this works. So I'll have to hold this loop over the lens. Sorry, you have to look at my face. And it does work. So you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but on there, you'll see 4810. And what that is refers to the meters and height that Mont Blanc, which they named this company after. It was originally named something else, but they sort of adopted that mountain. It's the highest peak in Europe, I believe, in the Alps. So it is on all their nibs for the pins. So it just gives you an idea. And that was sort of the other thing, is that the logo for Mont Blanc, as they might say, is that star, and that's to represent the snow-capped mountain of Mont Blanc, and that's its logo. So with that, I think what I'm going to do is conclude this part, And then I'm going to get into the writing part to show you how the pen performs. So see you in a bit.